Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to the channel. I'm Droozee, and we're back again with another Pokemon Yellow solo challenge. Today, we're going to be using Dugtrio, and I'm not sure what to expect from this one. Dugtrio is the evolved form of Diglett, and as a second stage Pokemon, it has much better stats than its first form, but it's still a glass cannon. It has low HP and defense, but high attack and speed. So if we can hit first, we may be in good shape, but if not, we could be in for some challenges. We will need to go for some quick battles because the longer this goes on, the more trouble we could get ourselves into. As always, I'm going to be trying to make this as challenging on myself as possible. So we're going to be forcing our rival to evolve his Eevee into Vaporeon. So that means we're actually going to be at a disadvantage to start with because we're going to have to lose the lab battle as well. And so as we start our lab battle against our rival, the strategy, for lack of a better word, is to use Scratch until we would win, and then as soon as we would be into a place we could get this win, we switch to Growl, and then we growl until the Eevee eventually decides to attack us enough to take us down. So, I mean, it loves to use Tail Whip here, you see that, and it just makes an annoying battle. It feels so weird having to throw a battle at the start of a game, but that's where we're at, so we can face the challenging Vaporeon later. And with that loss here, eventually, once it stops using Tail Whip, we go down, we lose, and now we're set up to get Vaporeon for our rival later on. One thing you'll notice is that I did not decide to use Dig at all during that battle, and part of that reason is because it is such a fantastic move, especially in Gen 1 with 100 base power, and also Dugtrio gets Stab on top of that, so it's even stronger. So I see this being a huge part of the strategy, especially at the beginning of the game, until we can set up, get into place, maybe get Earthquake later for a little bit more speed, but Earthquake is also 100 base power, so it'll be very similar in damage, it'll just be a little bit faster overall. There is one major drawback to Dig though, and that is that early on, it is not very effective against the early game bug types. In fact, against the only mandatory trainer in Viridian Forest, we see all of these weaknesses with Dugtrio being weak in defense, being a low HP Pokemon, and Dig not doing much damage coming into play, and we end up losing to the Caterpie. We put up a good fight, but being half its level, we ultimately end up going down in the end. On the rematch though, it goes a much smoother. We avoid the crit, and that's really, I think, all that mattered in this, is that we can end up taking about, 3 hits, but we end up doing enough damage with our Dig, and between String Shot also coming into play, we're able to take it down with a couple of crits on our own, and we're able to squeeze by the early game bug trainer here in Viridian Forest, and make our way on to Brock. Unlike the last Drowzee run, this is not going to be nearly as difficult. Brock is going to be super easy overall. Dig is super effective against both his Pokemon and makes short work of both his Geodude and his Onix, and that gives us the Boulder Badge. Now, so we're really off to a great start here. I'm really enjoying the fact that we didn't have to grind before Brock, and really, I mean, this is the power of Dig, and this is what I was excited for with Dugtrio. Starting with this move really gives an early game boost. And with that out of the way, we can now make our way through Mount Moon and move on to Cerulean City. And I think as I'm going through Mount Moon, I'm thinking about going to rival number 2 first, and that's what I end up doing because Misty is incredibly terrifying with her water types. Overall, rival number 2 isn't too bad though. Spearow isn't a great matchup, and neither are any flying types really, because we have to use Scratch to get through, and Spearow's annoying because it uses status moves, but we don't take any damage, and then Sandshrew comes out, and it gets off one sand attack, so our accuracy is down a bit, but still, no damage taken, and we're still doing pretty good here. Rat Attack comes out next, and we're still in good shape. We still haven't taken any damage, and we're able to do big damage with our attacks if they hit. And this is where the sand attack really comes into play. It was more of an annoyance than anything else. But Rat Attack goes down, and we still are at perfect health. Finally, out comes Eevee, and Dig is not hitting, and that tackle did a lot more damage thanks to all those attacks that Spearow had done earlier. But one Dig gets a crit, and we take it out, and that gets us the win, and we're able to go and move on to Misty now. I'm not really looking forward to this Misty fight. But Staryu does go down to a critical dig right off the bat, and that's very nice. So then we come out, and our Starmie dig does over half, and Bubble Beam gets a crit, and that's done. And so that's the first attempt. On to our next attempt. Again, Starmie goes down, or Staryu goes down to a dig, so the critical didn't matter on the first time. So now Starmie's back out. Our dig does just about the same, and Water Gun gets a crit again. Ugh, these crits are so frustrating. So on to round 3, and again, Staryu's no challenge, goes down to 1 dig. Starmie comes out. We know that it takes 2 digs. It misses because we're underground. It hits, and the Water Gun doesn't crit. Yes, we get it. We're underground again. We get a dig, takes out the Starmie, and Misty gives us the Cascade badge, and that really wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. 3 attempts to take her down. Really, I thought that would be a lot more challenging than it was. So with Misty out of the way, we're now heading down to the SS Anne, and normally I would go and pick up Body Slam, but since we're still at minimum battles, I figured let's see how long we can keep this going and go straight to Rival 3. Because of this, we still have Scratch for Spearow, which Body Slam would be much better, but really it's not making much of a difference here. And even though Rattata and Spearow go down easily, we do get 2 crit slashes from Sandshrew, and that takes us down. So in our rematch aboard the SS Anne, again, Spearow and Rattata both go down, and we come back to the Sandshrew again. The biggest thing we have to avoid is those slashes. The critical hit just does too much damage to us, and luckily this time we get underground and Dig does massive damage, and he goes for Scratch instead of Slash. We do get a 1 in 256 glitch, miss glitch, and that it makes our Sand Attack happen, or makes a Sand Attack happen, but doesn't end up being a problem. Our Dig crits Eevee, and we're moving on, and we pick up Sand Attack in the process. So now that we have cut, we can move on to fight Lieutenant Surge, and this one should be a really fun one. I'm really looking forward to matching up with my ground type against his electric type. I think that this should be one of the easiest battles I've ever done, and I'm really looking forward to taking out Surge's Raichu with a Dig. And with that foreshadowing out of the way, between our Stab and Dig advantage with the type advantage, no, this really isn't too tough. A single Dig, Raichu goes down. All you have to do is hit the A button on Dig, and you will beat Surge. There is no challenge here, but it is fantastic to finally get an easy battle. Misty was a little bit rough, but it was nice to be able to have that easy battle. So we make our way through Rock Tunnel, over to Celadon, where we can do some shopping. Most importantly here, we pick up a soda to trade for the TM for Rock Slide. This is also great to give us the move Rock Slide, give us some better type coverage, and finally be able to take care of those pesky water or flying type Pokemon. The other thing we do here is pick up some high quality H2O for the guards to Saffron City, so they'll let us into town. I decided to go to the Rocket Hideout before going to Erica's Grass Gym because that sounds terrifying, and Giovanni should be a much easier battle. Dig doesn't quite take out Onix in one shot, but it does one hit KO the Rhydon, so really the first couple Pokemon aren't too tricky. The biggest challenge is definitely going to be the Persian. And so, as the Persian comes out, we find out that one Dig does not quite take it out, and luckily it doesn't go for a big crit, but that bite did take us down quite a bit. The second Payday misses, and we're able to take it out and win the battle. So we're able to grab the Silph Scope. Now we can open up Pokemon Tower, which we're going to do that before going to face Erica, because like I said, that's a very, very tough matchup. So as we dig our way to Pokemon Tower, we obviously start with rival number 4. And rival number 4 is going to start with Fearow, and thankfully we now have Rock Slide to take care of this Fearow. And Rock Slide does end up taking it out, almost in one, not quite. Mirror Move, even with a crit, doesn't do much to us, so we're able to take out Fearow with a Scratch the next move. And then I accidentally misclick, hit a Scratch on the Vulpix. Rock Slide or Dig probably would have taken it out in one shot, so we took a little bit of unnecessary damage. But beyond that, it's not really going to make an issue or make any difference throughout this playthrough. Magnemite's an easy one-shot with Dig. Sandshrew also goes down to one-shot with Dig. And then Eevee comes out. We still outspeed, and we take it out with Dig again to win us the battle. I'm really surprised with how great Dugtrio is doing so far. It's been quick, it's been fast, and so far we're also at minimum battles at this point. which is really cool. I don't know how long we'll keep it up, but that's where we're at for now. And as we see now, I'm moving on to Koga, and we are vastly underleveled because we've been at minimum battle so far. I was thinking that the poison typing with my strength against it with my stab, ground, dig might be enough to take care of his entire gym and his poison and get this soul badge, but not quite working out. As you see, Venonat easily takes us out, and we don't even get to half damage. So instead, maybe Rival 5 will go a little bit better in Saffron City. So we start out against his Sand Slash, we get a critical dig. That's not doing too bad. We're still moving along, but one slash takes us to a single HP, and then Swift takes us out. So I want to see what happens if we don't get hit with a critical slash, which slash will be a critical every single time with Sand Slash here. I want to see what that'll look like and see what this battle turns out being. So we end up starting out here, it doesn't quite go as well, or we don't get the critical hit that we did last time, but we are able to take out Sand Slash without having too much of an issue, and we're still able to move on. We haven't got wrecked by Sand Attack, thanks to a couple different failures by him, and we're moving on to his next Pokemon. And right now, Magneton, still an easy one-shot with Dig. Ninetales also is going to be a pretty easy Pokemon to deal with. Even though it doesn't actually hit, or we don't get one-shot, we're able to take it out without taking damage. We level up to level 35, which gets us Slash, which means we can now do a little bit more damage with our normal type moves to give us a little bit stronger coverage. And that'll also allow us to take out this Kadabra one shot with Dig because of its low defense. The real challenge comes with Vaporeon though, with our Slash does maybe a third damage, probably closer to a quarter, and we get absolutely wrecked by Aurora Beam, and so that is going to be a giant brick wall for us. Which means our other option right now is probably to take on the Grass Gym, and this is not a great situation, but we are able to pick up a little bit more experience through some of the mandatory trainers along the way. We're still at minimum battles, but as you can see, Tangela makes short work of us. And this is going to be a theme right now, is that Dugtrio really has now had so little experience throughout. Even by trying some cheap Sand Attack tactics, it's still not enough to get us past this Tangela. So, man, really wasn't expecting to get brick walled this hard by Dugtrio, but we are able to take out the Tangela on our best attempts, which you're seeing here. But again, that ground typing, the ground moves against the poison typing in her grass moves. It's doing neutral damage, and we're still not able to take it out. So, until we get a couple more levels, we're probably not going to be able to take out Erica. So with that, I mean, we're really kind of stuck right now. Koga's level lead is a massive problem. We're already 10 levels below his lowest level Venonat. Rival 5 is just really tough, and Vaporeon's wiping the floor with us. And Erica has just a little bit too much level lead for us right now to be able to reliably defeat her as well. So it's really tough. So I've kind of spent a lot of time going between Koga, battling Rival 5, battling Erica, trying to see what was the right path forward. I felt confident there was still a way to stay at minimum battles, and eventually I did get this battle that you're seeing now with Koga, and it does have a lot of good luck, but it did give me a glimmer of hope for a potential path forward. As you see here, the Venomoth does hang on here. We had full health. This is what I was talking about. It was so close. A critical hit on that Rock Slide probably would have won us the battle. So I'm feeling confident and decided to go right back in for a second attempt. The second battle doesn't quite start off as well as the last attempt did, though. We do get put to sleep right away, and even though we wake up quickly, we do still take a Psychic, and that does do massive damage. So we're at about half health overall, starting with his next Venonat. We do some damage to ourselves, and then we finally take out his second Venonat. I'm not feeling too confident that this is going to actually turn out in my favor, though. Luckily for me, the sleep powder misses, and that gives us the chance we need to get underground, do our dig damage, to take out the third Venonat, which also gives us the chance to unlock Slash, which we teach over Scratch. I start out with Sand Attack to give myself a little bit of extra luck for accuracy, and it pays off right away when Leech Life misses. Second Leech Life hits, take us down to 6 HP. Luckily, it uses Double Team on the turn we come back up from underground, giving us the chance to go for Rock Slide, which hits and beats Koga. I can't explain how happy I was that this ended up working. I felt that it was an opportunity that could work, and it did. So amazing. I'll take it. We're still at minimum battles. And with that, I have a lot of confidence. I'm feeling pretty good, so I go back and decide to try to take on Erica to see if we can take out 2 gym leaders back to back. However, when we get to Erica, we're finding out that we're still not quite doing enough damage, and Tangle is still a massive problem for us. Even though we do get a little bit of luck with Vine Whip missing, it's still not doing enough damage overall to be able to take out Weepinbell, and there's no way it's going to be able to take out the Vileplume without getting a critical hit. So unless we can get a little bit more consistency, we're probably going to be losing quite a bit here. And so instead, since now that we've unlocked going to Cinnabar Island to face Blaine, I decided to stop off and pick up the Squirtle from Vermilion City, and then surf on down to take on the Fire Master Blaine. I like the idea of going up against Blaine here instead of going up against Erica, Rival Fivel, because our ground moves, we already get Stab, also are going to be super effective against his Pokemon, and I like that matchup. As I mentioned, we have strong moves against his Fire team, so even though we get a crit, takes out Ninetales right away. Rapidash also goes down to a crit, so feeling really good about my decision right now. We level up in the process, and then we get underground, we hit Arcanine, and even with the crit, doesn't quite last, and then a Fire Blast from the Fire Dog takes us out in one shot, and that really is very demoralizing. Thought I had a good chance to win that, even with things going my way, and it didn't quite work out. In our rematch, we see that Ninetales did matter with that crit, and yeah, we don't take any damage still, and they're able to get the crit on Rapidash and end up taking it out. So in our rematch against Arcanine, we still get that crit on a Dig. It goes for Reflect, which lucky enough doesn't end up doing damage to us, and we get underground again, hit our Dig, and we end up taking out Blaine, getting another level, which will be extremely valuable, and also gaining us another badge. So now that we have 5 badges and we're a little bit stronger overall, we'll go back and take on Erica. This time, those extra levels make a huge difference. We're doing almost half damage to Tangela, and it takes it out in 2 shots, so we were just over there, and now we're also strong enough to get underground and do full damage to the Weepinbell and the Vileplume if we're able to get a crit, and luckily we're able to get one on Weepinbell, and we're also strong enough now with the badge boost from Blaine to actually withstand a Petal Dance as well. So this makes Erica completely consistent, super awesome to have that feeling. A couple levels makes all the difference, and with that we now have 6 badges, and we're able to take on Rival Fivel because that's the only path we have left right now. Unfortunately, after tens and tens of battles, probably closing 30 to 40 times, Rival Fivel was just not happening. So at a certain point, I had to abandon minimum battles, and so I started a battle. This is my first battle that wasn't mandatory. I wanted to show up for everyone here, but we did end up having to go outside of the minimum battles that I had been doing up to this point, but taking down 6 badges to get to this point was pretty good. Pretty excited about that, but ended up battling multiple rockets around Silphco. It's a great place to train, and then we're able to come back and take on Rival Fivel once we get to level 40. And as it turns out, level 40 is the level that Rival Fivel becomes a little bit more consistent. The trick really comes down to avoiding big damage when you're going up against Sandslash, and in the successful battle here, we do end up doing that, only taking a single Swift before taking it out with a critical hit Dig. The other Pokemon is Magneton, Ninetales, and Kadabra all go down very easily because of the strong attack that we have. At this point, all we need is to avoid a critical hit Aurora Beam, and we should be able to take out the Vaporeon in 2 hits, and here we do avoid the crit, and that gives us everything we need to take down Vaporeon and defeat Rival Fivel. And so this now unlocks moving on to Giovanni and really opens up the end game to us. As you might expect, Giovanni doesn't really pose a challenge here. Dig does massive damage to almost all of his Pokemon. It's either super effective or we just have very strong attack. Slash almost takes out Persian in 1 hit. Luckily, it doesn't go for its own Slash, which could have been very, very dangerous. I think we still would have survived, though. And again, then Rhyhorn goes down to a single Dig, bringing out Nidoqueen, who also is going to be weak against Dig, and that comes through. Giovanni uses his guard specs that he loves. I don't think the crit mattered there, but we do get the easy victory against Giovanni. With Giovanni out of the way, we can go take on Sabrina now, but before we do that, I decide to go pick up Mimic since it will be helpful later in the run, and it'll also give us a little bit more diversity in case we need it later on, because right now we still only have a couple different moves available to us, and this will at least open up the possibility to maybe use Mimic. I think it might be useful in the Elite Four, but I'm not sure right now, so we'll pick it up just in case. So Sabrina's team, we're very well matched up because we do have such high speed and we're a strong attacker. So Slash takes out Abra in one shot, takes out Kadabra in one shot, Alakazam then comes out. Our Slash doesn't quite take it out. We tank a Psy-Wave. There was no chance that was going to take us out. Psychic might have been scary, but Slash ends up taking it down, and we get an easy win against Sabrina. So now we've got 7 badges, which means we get to take on Giovanni in a rematch for the 8th badge. We start out with a mirror match, Dugtrio versus Dugtrio. Luckily, we get the crit, taking out his Dugtrio really easily. Our Slash doesn't do half to Persian, and Persian's really scary because Slash will always get a crit, and that crit takes us out in one shot. That is not great. So I try again to test out a little bit more strategy and see what it would be like to get past the Persian. And we try it out. Again, we get past Dugtrio with no challenges. And Persian, our Slash gets a crit. Luckily, it goes for Screech, gives us a little bit of boost with the badge boost glitch, and we get underground, and Dig takes it out. Nidoqueen's out next. We get underground for Dig. Earthquake doesn't hit underground in Gen 1, so we get hit with a Tail Whip, bringing us to -3 in defense stages, and that's going to be a problem since we're -3 in defense, and our badge boosts all went away because we leveled up. It doesn't end up hurting us against Nidoking because we get a critical hit with our Dig and take it out. Out comes Rhydon, and our Dig ends up doing pretty good damage, taking it to about half health, but with all those defense drops and our weak defense, Rhydon hits an Earthquake, and that takes us out. That ends that run right there. So I decided to battle the rest of the trainers in the gym, come back 1 level higher, and now I'm at 45. Hopefully I won't level up during the battle, and so far it makes this a little bit more consistent. We get by Dugtrio. This time we do take an Earthquake, but as long as Persian doesn't use Slash, we're okay. So now that this part could be a little bit scary if the Nidos actually ended up attacking, but most of the time they don't. And then even when they don't attack, Giovanni also loves using guard specs, which also helps make this a lot more consistent. I ended up winning 4 out of 5 times I tried this because I felt a little bit lucky on a lot of these, but it ended up not making too much of a difference. You'll see here once I level up to 47, I do unlock Earthquake, and I make a decision to delete Sand Attack and not Dig. Even though Earthquake and Dig have the same power, there is a reason I decided to get rid of Sand Attack and not Dig, and that is actually because we wanted to keep a spot for Mimic later. Anyway, with our newly found Earthquake, we're able to take out the Rhydon in 2 shots and get our final badge, and now we're moving on to facing the final rival battle before the Elite Four. Like with Rival Fivel, the key to this battle is not getting too banged up by his Sand Slash. And after Execute comes out next, we're able to do an Earthquake. Another reason keeping Dig is that we can get underground and avoid the Solar Beam, which gives us enough time to end up taking out his Execute as well. So from here, it should be a pretty easy pass through the Magneton, and then also through his Ninetales, and then his Kadabra as well. And so we use Earthquake, we get super effective damage, taking out the 2. Now we level up, and Kadabra comes out. I go for Slash because I know it'll take it out, but we get a Gen 1 miss, and then Psybeam takes us out, so that's not great. On a lot of the other attempts I was going with, I wasn't really getting much luck getting past Sand Slash, and then Execute sometimes could take me out as well, or hitting me with Leech Seed, so it was really an annoying battle. So I decided to take the opportunity, go and fight the Fighting Dojo, some other trainers around Kanto, take out some opponents, get some experience, and really start to level up. And there's another reason behind this level up too. You might have guessed it, but I am absolutely terrified of Lorelei. She is going to be an absolute problem, and I already can see that we're struggling with Vaporeon. When Vaporeon's in the mid 40s and 50s, there is an absolute no chance that we're going to be able to get by the Lapras at our current level, let alone her Dugong and her Cloyster and Jinx before that. And I left out Slowbro as well. Oh, man, that team is so scary. So I do take the chance to pick up some more levels here, get a little bit of stat experience for my Dugtrio to boost our attack a little bit more, and after that, hopefully we can take on rival number 6 and move through and take on the ever scary Lorelei. Another thing you might have noticed as well is that I haven't used my rare candies, and I haven't used them exactly for that reason with Lorelei. And not knowing exactly how strong I'm going to need to beat her, I know that I'm going to want to focus on getting as quick of a level up as possible. And as you move up, you become more and more difficult to level up, and I wanted to save them as late in the run as possible. So after doing that little bit of training, we come back 1 level higher. And again, like I mentioned before, the goal is to avoid the damage on the Sand Slash, and that Execute is now a consistent Pokemon because Slash now takes it out in 2 hits. So as long as we don't as long as we don't get a 1 in 256 glitch miss, we move on and we're able to take it out. So again, now on to Magneton, Dig, nothing new here. Same thing with Ninetales. Again, Earthquake or Dig will take it out in 1 shot. We do get a minor quick attack, so it does do a little bit of damage. Kadabra this time, as long as we don't get the 1 in 256 miss again, and we don't, and we take it out. So now out comes Vaporeon. I go for Earthquake. It does under half. It goes for Mist, so I go for Slash, which takes it down just a little bit, and then Hydro Pump takes us out. So that wasn't fantastic, but now try it again right away, and this time we get Sand Slash. Things go much better, and we only end up taking a little bit, we take 20 damage from Furious Swipes before taking it out. Execute comes out, and we end up doing our normal 2-slash strategy. We do get Leech Seeded. Shouldn't be a problem here though, because all of his Pokemon from here until Vaporeon are 1-shots with Earthquake or with Slash, depending on the Pokemon, and we're able to see that with Magneton, and again with Ninetales as well. So we're going to Kadabra and Vaporeon with only 20 health gone, so we're looking pretty good overall. We go for Earthquake, and that does really good damage, recovers a little bit from Leech Seed, but Vaporeon goes for Haze, which takes away our Leech Seed, which is fantastic, and then goes for Mist, which clears the way for an easy victory. And, maybe a little bit lucky with the move choice there, but I'm not going to complain too much, because we're still going to have to go up against Lorelei next, and that is not a battle that I want to do. The good news, if you can call it good news in this battle and this terrible matchup against Lorelei, is that we do have Rock Slide to help counter. The bad news is we also have no ability to tank any of her attacks. And in the first attempt against Dugong, as I like to always go in trying to see how things look before actually doing any leveling up or anything, we can say that we beat Dugong, and then we got promptly destroyed by Cloyster. I think it's safe to say that we're going to need a lot more levels to make it through her consistently. To test out exactly how many levels, I use the 9 rare candies that I have right now and level up to level 65, where we end up taking out Dugong with a critical hit 1-shot, which is good to know, but Cloyster just absolutely destroys us with a critical hit Clamp. So we're going to come back at a little bit higher level, now at level 71. Even at level 71, Dugong still isn't in range for a 1-shot with Rock Slide, which is not a great outcome. Cloyster's out next. Rock Slide still is only a 2-hit, it's still in 2-hit range. Luckily this time we do survive a Clamp, even though it goes for 3 turns, and that gives us the chance to take out Cloyster, and we finally made it past the Clamp. So that's fantastic, but we only have 14 health for the rest of Lorelei's team. We get by Slowbro because it goes for Withdraw, that's a 50-50 chance. Rock Slide is enough to take out Jinx in 1 shot, and that brings out Lapras. I'm terrified of this Pokemon right now. We do get a massive damage, and luckily it misses with its Hydro Pump, and we actually moved past Lorelei for the first time. I think I spent at least 30 minutes trying to get past her, whether at different levels, so I am absolutely ecstatic at this point that we're able to move on and face someone different than the Ice Pokemon. And luckily enough, after a quick heal, we get to face Bruno, and as Bruno is in a lot of challenges, he's really not a challenge. We get in this battle, we actually get 4 critical hit Earthquakes on his first 4 Pokemon, so that's really interesting. Dugtrio does have a really high crit rate in Gen 1, but even without those, I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem here. Even though Machamp will end up tanking our Earthquake, it doesn't even do half damage with submission. So we were at no risk in this battle, and it lets us move on to Agatha. And again, thanks to our ground typing, most of her poison Pokemon are going to be really weak, except for Golbat, and we do have Rock Slide for that. So I'm not anticipating any challenges there either. So before we take on Agatha, we restore our PP, we end up healing up, and then we move on into the next room to face the Ghost Master. So Agatha will start with her first Gengar, and it's not much of a challenge. We end up one-hitting even with an Earthquake, and then out comes Golbat. I get a little bit ahead of myself and end up accidentally misclicking and hitting Earthquake again, which obviously doesn't hit. We get hit with Toxic, which isn't great, but at the same time also isn't going to hurt us because we're able to one-shot her Golbat with Rock Slide, one-shot her Haunter with Earthquake. Now her Arbok comes out. It is also a one-shot. We had a crit. I don't think it mattered, but we're able to take it out. And then Gengar comes out and also is a one-shot. So we went through Agatha without taking any damage, but I don't think the next battle is going to be easy. I think that was our last easy battle in the Elite Four, because now we're on to Lance, and he starts with Gyarados, and Gyarados' Hydro Pump is very scary because we don't have the ability to tank it. If we aren't able to take the Gyarados out really quickly, I think we're going to have a very big problem on our hands. In our first time facing Lance, we do find out that Rock Slide does do significant damage. A crit would have taken it out, but a Hydro Pump also gets a crit, and that does take us out. So our trip to Lance is very short-lived, and we're back to Lorelei again. So this time when we come back to Lorelei, we're starting at level 72, so we did level up a little bit more, hopefully to add a little bit more consistency, but we still get beat up quite a bit by Dugong with Aurora Beam. And really the biggest problem here still is that Dugong is not a one-shot with Rock Slide. We take out Cloyster over the course of 2 different Rock Slides, and we're going through the rest of this battle with very low health, only 22 HP. We do get withdraw from Slowbro, so we take no more damage, and Jinx is still a one-hit KO with Rock Slide. So we're still looking pretty good, so we either need a crit hit with Rock Slide on Lapras or miss with Hydro Pump or Blizzard. And on this one, we do get the crit hit, so we do get the win. And that gets us past Lorelei again, who is actually turning out to be a little bit more consistent than I thought now that we're in the low 70s. So instead of talking about the Bruno and Agatha battle, since they're pretty much the same thing and they're really not that interesting, I'm going to get a little bit more into detail about Lance here. The challenge here with Lance is that the Gyarados needs to get to be a one-hit KO with Rock Slide. If we can do that, I think we'll have a good chance with the rest of his team. I mean, right now we're relying on a critical hit with our Rock Slide, and that's really not going to be a great strategy. It's a lot of luck. Plus, it's not 100% accuracy move, so on top of that, that makes even more unreliability in our moveset. So, really need to maybe pick up a couple more levels, but until then, we're going to be looking at Rock Slide against Gyarados. Assuming we get past Gyarados though, we still are going to have some problems with the Dragonairs, but one having Ice Beam, which is going to be a little bit tough for us. Lance does have good AI, so he's probably going to be using that. And there's also the fact that his Dragonite has Blizzard as well, so really not a great combination, and not looking forward to how this will go. But at the same time, a couple more levels, maybe mimicking Ice Beam. Maybe that's an option. Maybe an Earthquake, and we can just get past his Dragonites, Dragonairs as well. So there's a lot of options here, but Lance has proven to be pretty tricky just based on his Pokemon, and we don't really have a great counter to any of them. So anyway, we're about back to him now as we're finishing up with the Agatha fight. Again, as I mentioned, she's really a one-hit sweep. The only challenge that can come is if we miss a Rock Slide on Golbat, and in that case, we take a little bit of damage. Worst case there is confusion, just prolonging the battle. But never had any problems with her so far, and it doesn't continue here, and we're back to Lance. This time up against Lance, we're a little bit higher level than we were last time, so let's see if that extra little bit of level will make a difference with our Rock Slide and be able to take Gyarados down in one shot. We find out with our first move, and doesn't quite do enough still. Hydro Pump doesn't get a crit this time, so that's a plus. So we are able to move on past Gyarados with a Slash. I decided to go for Earthquake on the first Dragonair to see if it'll take it out in one hit, and it does, so that sounds pretty good. So I get a little bit risky on the second one, going for Ice Beam really wasn't a smart decision because I knew with Lance's good AI he was going to use Ice Beam, and that's an easy knockout for him. Really frustrated myself for that, but at least now I did learn that the Earthquake strategy should be a viable option moving forward. Our next attempt at the league really goes sideways at the beginning. We don't take out Dugong right away because we just can't quite make it. It hangs on with a little bit. We end up taking it out though. It seems like it's a little bit of a sign though, because right away our Rock Slide misses on Cloyster and we get clamped, which does big damage, and we're not in a great place. Slash doesn't quite take it out. Ice Beam then freezes us, and that's the end of that run, but at least we did pick up a level there. And one thing you'll notice is that I'm continually going back through the league right now, going back and gaining experience and leveling up as I play through, because right now it's the best place to train and gain some levels. And at some point I know it'll be a little bit more consistent once we actually make it through and make Lance possible, and then hopefully the champion as well. The next run does go a lot better. Dugong hangs on against our Rock Slide still. It does hit an Aurora Beam before going down, but this time we get a crit with our Rock Slide, so any chance Cloyster had to retaliate is gone. Slowbro is now a consistent 2-shot with Slash, so that helps a lot with this. I do use that to take it out, but not before taking big damage from its Surf. Jinx is now one hit with Earthquake, so we had more consistency than we did with Rock Slide, because that can miss, but Lapras is still dangerous, but we do get the crit, and now we're moving back on to Bruno. So I mentioned a little bit before, but Dugtrio does get a lot of critical hits, and that's because in Gen 1, critical hits are based on the Pokemon's base speed, and Dugtrio has such a high base speed that we actually have about 1 in 4 chance, it's actually 23% chance, to crit on any given attack. So when 1 in 4 attacks is going to be a crit for us, it's a little bit easier to plan on critical hits as part of the strategy. It's not 100% consistent, but it does actually occur enough that you can feel like it's not complete luck to get that. And it's not too bad overall. And Slash, of course, is always a critical hit because it is going to be a high critical hit move. And because of that base speed being so high, it always comes through. And as I've talked about critical hits, Bruno's now been defeated. Bruno and Agatha right now are both really easy thanks to Earthquake, and just really in general, we don't have any challenges with them. Sometimes we take a little bit of damage, but we're never really in any chance of really taking a loss here. So really, once we beat Lorelei, we're guaranteed to fight Lance, so that's a very exciting thing that I don't have to really put a lot of thought in the middle here. But Lorelei can still sometimes be a challenge because they always have the chance to freeze, which instantly ends the run. And then also the fact that she has a lot of strong special Pokemon who can attack with their water and ice moves, which are super effective damage against us. But enough about Lorelei, as we do end up taking out Agatha, which brings us back to Lance. And this time, we need to remember not to go for Ice Beam, and I'll stick with the Earthquake strategy from here out, because that will be a lot more consistent to take out his Dragonairs. So like always, we're going to be starting with Rock Slide against his Gyarados, and hoping that his Hydro Pump doesn't crit, even if we don't take it out. So we start with Rock Slide, and we don't quite knock it out still, and we don't get the crit. Hydro Pump also doesn't crit, which is starting to do less damage, which is also very promising. Dragonair 1 comes out, we hit Earthquake, and that takes it out. Critical hit shouldn't matter. And then Dragonair number 2 comes out, we do Earthquake again, and takes it out, and now... So as Aerodactyl comes out, I hesitate on Rock Slide because it could miss, and so I end up going for Slash. And at this point, we begin the strangest sequence I've ever had in my 25 plus years of playing Pokemon. So after a Hyper Beam miss, my Rock Slide took out Aerodactyl. I don't quite knock Dragonite out because I don't get a crit hit. And now we just get back and forth crazy bad luck and crazy misses. And I'm actually going to break this one down because you might be wondering what the odds of this happening are. And I wanted to find out, so let's do that now. So starting with the Aerodactyl battle, we get a critical hit Slash, which is essentially guaranteed, but then things get really weird. His Hyper Beam miss is a 10% chance, and Rock Slide is a 90% chance to hit. So when we get this, like, we're already at a 1 in 11 chance of occurring. So now that Aerodactyl's down, things get very complicated very quickly. And it starts with our Rock Slide hitting, but not getting a crit on the Dragonite. So based on our speed and the accuracy of Rock Slide, this is about a 69% chance of happening. And then the absolute craziest sequence of events I've seen comes into play. And it's really interesting, starting with the 10% Blizzard miss by Dragonite, which then we miss with our Rock Slide on a misclick. That was also a 10% chance. Blizzard misses again for another 10%. That's insane. So then I've wised up and I'm going to use Slash, and I get the 1 in 256 miss glitch before he finally hits with his 90% Blizzard to take us out. Man, I don't even know what else to say. That's just the worst luck I think I could have ever had, or the weirdest luck. I don't know. It was good luck mixed with bad luck. But when you take all these things together, the chance this occurs is 0.00002%. Another way you could look at that is if you started the battle from the exact point of that Rock Slide, the chances are 1 in 4.5 million that it would go just how it did. I'm really glad I got that on my recording, because that was fantastic, and I don't know if I would be able to repeat it again if I tried. Alright, so that's enough math for this video, and with all that math out of the way, let's get back to the rest of the challenge, because I know you're probably all interested in seeing how this turns out. So as we come back to Lorelei, I want to do a quick reminder, since we did have that minor math detour, that we're battling straight through after each attempt, so we are going to start at level 77 for this Elite Four run through. Once we get to level 77, Lorelei is really consistent now, because Rock Slide will take out Dugong in one hit, and unless Ice Beam freezes us with Cloyster, we really don't have too much problem there either. Slowbro is still going to be a 2-hit KO at this level, and the worst case scenario is a Surf, but even when we do get a Surf, which you'll see here, it still doesn't really do enough to take us out, and we're able to take Slowbro down. As always, Jinx is still going to be an easy takeout. We use Slash here, critical hit will take it down. Lapras comes out. Rock Slide doesn't quite do enough to take it out, but it does bring into range for Retroactive Super Potion, and with that, we take out Lorelei, and we can move on to Bruno, and makes that very nice compared to the earlier battles with Lorelei, which definitely went a lot worse, and were a lot harder, and now it's fairly consistent overall. Heal up before we go and take out both Bruno and Agatha without much problem again. These two are super consistent. So as this plays out in the background, I'm going to talk about my strategy for Lance, since it almost worked last time, and I think I can make it work. So Gyarados is going to obviously be Rock Slide again, and then we'll go through Earthquake with his other two Dragonairs. And then we'll probably have to go with Rock Slide again and hope that it hits on both Aerodactyl and Dragonite. If we need to, we might also use a Slash in there too to finish it off. But really, the main thing that we have to hope is that we don't get another crazy sequence like we did last time. But really, the odds of 1 in 4.5 million events happening back to back, probably not too high. So I'm feeling pretty confident going into this next battle against Lance. But again, we're going to have to think also, I've also got some more levels too, so that's also going to be helpful. I'll be going in at a little bit higher level instead of 77. I'll be sitting at 78 or 79, depending on how this Agatha battle turns out. And that'll be big to get a little bit more strength. We'll be at level 79 as I just leveled up. And we'll be a little bit stronger, which will give me a little bit more boost. Hopefully be able to tank a little bit more damage and also be able to maybe get a one-shot on Gyarados, which would be fantastic. We will see very shortly though, as now we've defeated Agatha and we're back to Lance. And one exciting thing about this run is that even though there are a lot of hang-ups and a lot of really hard parts, there are also parts here with the middle two Elite Four members that are really easy, so it's also kind of able to go on autopilot and think through the strategy for this upcoming Lance battle like I just voiced through, and how I could approach it and maybe how things go. So as the battle starts, Gyarados comes out, we go for Rock Slide of course, and it doesn't quite get it, hangs on by just a little bit, but we get the Retroactive Hyper Potion, giving us another chance for Rock Slide. It wasn't a range, and we do end up taking a big Hydro Pump, but I don't think we're going to be in too much trouble right now. So the Dragonairs come out, we Earthquake both of them, and then we come back to Aerodactyl again. So we'll come out now with our Rock Slide against Aerodactyl. It's super effective because Rock is neutral to Rock and Flying is weak to Rock, so that gets the one shot, and now we're on to Dragonite. we get the big rock slide, we get a 10% chance miss for blizzard, and this time we don't get the 1 in 256 miss glitch, and we take it down with slash to get us to the champion for the first time in this run. Before we take on the rival, let's get ourselves healed, restore our PP, and then take on the champion. I don't think he should be too much of a challenge because of all our levels, but we'll find out. Let's cue the champion theme and start the battle. So, as always, Sandslash will be out first, and we're going to start out with an Earthquake battle, going back and forth, and we find out very quickly that my Earthquake is much stronger than his Earthquake, and that is fantastic news for us, and we can then do a slash and take it down and move on to his Alakazam. Alakazam's out next, we outspeed, and our slash takes it down in one shot. Now we're on to Executor, and I decide to go and mimic Hypnosis. Sleep is so OP in Gen 1. I do get Leech Seed, but I don't think that's going to make too much of a difference here. It will only go for Leech Seed because of the Gen 1 good AI. So really, this is a free takedown. So we're not in too bad of a place. Ninetales comes out, Earthquake takes him out, or will take him out as well. Then he'll bring out his Magneton, which will also go down to a single Earthquake, and we're now on to Vaporeon. And all we have to do really is go for the Hypnosis, and if we hit it, it should be gone, and we miss. Not great. Roar Beam doesn't take us out though, and then we get our Hypnosis, and now we're up against the Leech Seed clock. Thanks to an Aurora Beam attack drop that just happened, Earthquake looks like it's doing half, but maybe not enough because of the Leech Seed recovery, so I go for Slash to bypass that drop, hoping it does enough, and yes, it does, and we're able to get the win. So Dugtrio is able to take down the Elite Four, get us a championship, but this run was so weird. It was so easy at the beginning, but the back end was so tough. We were doing minimum battles for half the game. But at the end, Elite Four was still a lot of fun to play through. As we do get to come in and check out our final time, we did finish at level 80, and for the time, we come in at just over 6 hours of game time. So, not bad, but not great either. The late game really took a toll on Dugtrio, but even with that in mind, Dugtrio easily comes in with a faster time than Drouzee did, so it has to go on top of our tier list. So with Dugtrio added to the tier list, let's spin the wheel to see who our next Pokemon is, and as the wheel slows down, we find out that it will be Sandslash. Awesome, another ground type. This should be very interesting. We'll see how the ground type compares to Dugtrio. As always, if you liked the video, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified when the newest videos come out. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I know I sure did. And until next time, I'm Droozee, and I hope to see you again soon.